So he wants to get this thing over and done with. He feels exonerated. I think he also feels
view and what we're learning, it seems to back up exactly what President Trump has been saying.
Yeah, no, I think it does back up and says what President Trump really wants to get to. He wants to get this thing over and done with. He feels exonerated. I think he also feels frustrated. There's been no indication of collusion. And the Mueller investigation is kind of wandering all over now, way beyond the scopes of whether there was collusion in the 2016 presidential election. So I think President Trump is exactly right. And I think Christopher Wray basically said, look, President Trump hasn't put any pressure on me. And I think that's right. Everything that I was hearing beforehand was that was the case.
Christopher Wray has that job because of President Trump. And so for him to say that the president hasn't spoken with him or put pressure on regarding Russia, what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that President Trump is giving him wide berth and the freedom and independence that he needs as the director of the FBI, with particularly the investigation that Mueller's conducting. The real issue is why isn't Rod Rosenstein, who's the #2 guy at DOJ, why isn't he putting some constraints on that? Why isn't he putting some constraints on that investigation? This
Mueller's all over the map.
Is way beyond the boundary, and it's gotten way long.
Why isn't he? Do you know?
Well, the way I read it is that Rod Rosenstein helped bring Mr. Mueller on, and that his management style is to take a hands-off approach. Well, this is his buddy. He's got given him lots of room, and I think that's a real problem myself.
Hands off, but hands-on taxpayer money and time to watch this.
Yes. Exactly right. And so it continues to go on and on and on. And quite frankly, a special counsel is going to go as long.
That's Andy Biggs, Arizona.
As you let them go, because they want to come back somewhere along the way and say, look, this is the work product we've done.
So, Congressman Biggs, though, isn't it a little tricky? Because if you step in on Robert Mueller at this point and you thwart this investigation, and I don't know if an attacking tweet does that, I want to get your opinion on that too. But if you do, that doesn't stop the investigation, or does it?
Policy.
Well, a tweet doesn't do anything other than express what I think is frustration. And quite frankly,
but it has no chill.
Yeah. Well, Trey kind of screwed up when he was saying earlier that Trump ought to just get out of the way. Well, you know what, Trey Groudy, you've been tasked with Hillary Clinton's emails, and you and Goodlatte. And so far, we haven't seen anything out of you guys anywhere near a direction on that. You haven't even interviewed your first witnesses on it. And secondly, if the FBI was crawling up your ass for the last 14 months, or should I say Mueller crawling up your ass for the last 14 months, I think you'd be a little cranky too. So you need to step off and quit playing TV right-wing man, because you're not exactly correct either.
Chilling effect in your understanding.
It has no chilling effect.
And if you fired Robert Mueller, would the investigation go away?
Not necessarily, but so we've actually discussed legislation here in the House that I think is appropriate, and that is put some boundaries on this investigation, put a timeline in there. Let's get a report done.
What's he going to do, investigate for 4 years?
Because in my opinion, President Trump has been exonerated from everybody by like Comey, like Clapper, the House Intelligence Committee. Okay, so there's no collusion there. There's no point for this investigation. So let's find a way to pull the plug, and maybe the Congress needs to do that.
That's fascinating, because there are two things going on, and I want to know from you, are there two factions on Capitol Hill, and are some of them Republicans? So what you're saying is
like 5 factions,
on where Mueller's going, and particularly what he can spend and where he can go and all that. But then you have people who want to put some boundaries on whether or not the president can fire Robert Mueller and to save his job.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, I actually heard somebody from the other party on the floor today say that we need to pass a bill that Robert Mueller can't be fired.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
It's really indicative of the division within the country in some respects. But it also gets to the heart of this.
That's kind of like Robert Painter from Wisconsin. He's running for Al Franken's seat. I knew Franken was behind this, and I knew Kamala Harris, because when Jeff Sessions was doing his confirmation hearing, those two rattled Jeff Sessions like a cage. They rattled his cage bad and tricked him into recursing himself. And that's where this all began, is because Camilla Harris and Al Franken rattled Sessions' cage so bad. So I guess now McCabe is saying that he had an investigation going on Jeff Sessions for perjury in his Senate hearing confirmation, which is bullshit, because that was just a roundabout way of McCabe trying to figure out how to stick it to Sessions and Trump before he walked out the door on his retirement. So I'm glad he lost his retirement until the age of 57 or 62, whatever it is, because those guys are some dirty son of a bitches, and it's coming out little by little. You guys are all going to find out that that whole deep state of Obama administration was the most corrupt we've had. It makes Watergate look like a walk in the park.
And that is, originally, people were calling for President Trump to be impeached
before he even got committed a crime.
And that kind of
never even committed a crime
thing is what I think
Mad
is
Max, a
driving
crazy
what's going
black
on
woman
now.
out of
And stop producing anything
California,
positive in the
doesn't
not
even live in
producing
her
anything positive
district.
for the country either.
Last question for you, Representative. Robert Mueller enjoys bipartisan support for the most part.
No, he
Do you
doesn't.
support him? And, you know, considering
The only
some
ones
boundaries
supporting
that
him
you'd
are
like
the
to put
crooks
on
that
the
worked with him.
investigation, do you support him staying and finishing the job?
No, I've been calling for his recusal since last.
You need to ask old Corker and Senator Warner about their Georgia deal during the housing bubble of 2008, when those two did some inside trading and made millions with a real estate company called Luker, L-U-K-E-R. Research that a little bit and you'll be amazed. Those guys did some inside trading and got a whole lot of money.
June. The very fact that the team that he put together is so biased and has so many conflicts.
Yeah, they're all Democrat donors. And Stoltz and Page gets caught texting each other, what, 1.2 million documents that need to go through? And Congress has only seen, what, 3,000 of them? And that's what we've gotten so far, is those two were plotting an insurance. You know what the insurance was exonerate Clinton and frame Trump.
Indicates to me that this investigation, indicated to me back then that this investigation would not be an objective investigation. I'd suggest that that's the case today. I don't think his product has been scintillating in any way, and I think that we'd all be better served if he was gone.
Would you replace him?
I would not necessarily replace him. I think that his work is done. I think we need a second special counsel now to go back and investigate the corruption that we've discovered, that the Inspector General has discovered over time as well.
Congressman Andy Biggs of the great state of Arizona, wish we had your sunshine today, sir.
Oh, me too.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you have it. See, even the senators are starting to wise up about what's going on with the Mueller investigation, and Adam Schiff and James Comey and McCabe and Orr and his wife and Page, and you know, it's going to lead right back to Obama's front door. There's just no other way for it to go. He weaponized these companies or these agencies, and then he turns around and opens up the other 14, what is there, total of 17 agencies that have full access to intel, when the only ones that need it are CIA, FBI, NSA, and Homeland Security. 4. That's all. The only ones that needed the intel on anything. And here you've got the Coast Guard, you know, I mean, EPA, agencies that have nothing to do with, you know, intelligence or protection of national security. Let's go on and see what else we can find.